Welcome to episode 2 of Business Sparks with Val. I'm happy that you're here. So today I want to talk about a mistake that a lot of people make when starting their own business, and that is creating a business that doesn't actually fit your life. So many people, many expats especially, whenever they think about building a business, they focus around the idea, the offer, how they will make money, how it's gonna be structured financially, and taxes, websites, and all of it. Which again, it's needed at some point. But the problem is that if you don't build this business around your existing life and your existing life constraints, this is going to be very, very hard to sustain in the long term. And most likely, the idea of building your own thing came from a place of disappointment or maybe being tired of the work life that you had until now. And so you want some things to change. Maybe you want more flexibility, more freedom, more ownership, things that we talked about also in episode number 1 that were very close to me and my reasons as well. But if you don't look at how your life is going to change or how is that going to be impacted by having your business and supported by it, you might end up inadvertently recreating the same structures that you were escaping from. So this episode is to give you a different perspective on how you can look into this and how you can make sure that what you're building actually fits your life. You're listening to Business Sparks with Val, the podcast for expats and internationals who are done overthinking and are ready to build their business on their own terms. I'm your host, R.E.A.D.Y, business coach and founder of Spark Coaching with Val. Each week, I will bring you tips, learnings, and honest conversation so you can build with more clarity, more confidence, and a lot less second guessing. Let's get started. A lot of us are very good at knowing what we don't want anymore. And not so good at knowing already ahead of time what is that we do want to build towards. Examples could be that you may have said, oh, I don't want to do the 9-to-5 structure anymore. That doesn't work for me. Or I don't want to commute to an office every single day of my life to do my job. Or I don't want to have a boss that tells me what to do every time. But have you actually taken the time to think about what are the things that you do want and how are they going to fit in the environment that you're in and the life constraints that you already have? So what I see happening often, and this is like not a way to discredit any professional whatsoever, quite the opposite. But what I see very often that the immediate solution to, okay, I want to go from whatever it is that I'm doing in my work to self-employed and building my own business is to say, I'm becoming a consultant in whatever it is that you were already doing. So, for example, if you were working as a internal financial advisor, then you would become a financial consultant. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. It is very logical. It is quite safe because it, again, doesn't imply you to change a lot altogether. You are very much relying on your previous experience and connection and network. So it is sensible. It does make sense to do this. However, many times it comes from a place of either, okay, yes, I definitely need to escape this whole like golden cage of corporate and I just want to use my expertise and do my own thing, hence consultancy. Or you may have been laid off from your job and you are having a hard time finding work again. And so you're just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just becoming a consultant now. Again, this is not to judge anyone, but it's important for you to consider what that will entail with your current life. Because if, for example, you want to build your own business because you want to escape a certain environment, becoming a consultant within that same environment would not change that, right? And similarly, if you're someone that doesn't thrive in a corporate world or like dealing with certain people, then this is not going to change it. So this just to say that if you don't have a very anchored life vision that you will attach your business to, it's going to be an uphill battle from the moment you start your business onwards, because again, you are going to be unconsciously recreating the same exact structure in place that you were trying to escape. And to keep on the consultancy aspect, an example, and again, this is just an example, but I had a client very recently that I work with. And when she first came to coaching with me in the beginning, she was absolutely convinced that she wanted to work within a specific consultancy with big corporates and high level executives, because she thought that this would be the job that would give her the most money financially, and that she would, yeah, she would get like the most solid business. And then, that's all good and fair. And I think, money and financial prospect is also a very important part to consider when building a business. But when we started to later in the program, when we started to dive deeper into the real motivation behind this, and also the current lifestyle that she had, and the things that she actually enjoyed to do, these ideas started to crumble a little bit. First of all, she realized that although she had experience and she was definitely trained and capable of doing this type of work, she did not feel a personal connection with the type of people that she would have to sell to. And that was because she had never been in those rooms with those people before. She had worked on the topic and on certain deliverables, but she hadn't actually uh, put herself in those rooms. So that was the first obstacle. The other part was that she was thinking about working for large corporations, and then turns out that where she was based, there were none or very little, and that she didn't particularly thrive working online, because she found energy by working with people in presence and not online. So that was already another challenge, because, okay, so if you don't thrive working online, but you do need to meet people and they're not where you're based, either you travel or you don't. And that was the other part. Like, she had a family to care for, and her current structure and family style didn't actually allow her to have enough time or hours to do this type of work. In the meantime, she actually had been doing something else, a completely different type of business that I'm not going to go in detail with, to keep this story anonymous. She had discarded this because she thought that she couldn't make enough money eventually with this type of business. And although that might be true, that it might take a little longer to get to a certain level of financial remuneration from this type of work, it was completely aligned with her lifestyle. It was completely aligned with what energizes her, with the type of work that she's passionate about, with her family commitments and constraints. And since she shifted to working on this rather than this other idea of what should have been in her head, her energy was completely different. And she was finally working on something that she really believed in and that was aligned to her life and her vision of what that would look like in the future. And I want to give you another example from my own experience because I think it's relevant. So when I also started considering having my own business, I really felt, as I said, the strong desire to just like have ownership and freedom on my own terms. But really, two things were very key in terms of lifestyle that prompted me to start my own thing. So the first one was, and I think you can relate a lot to this, is that being an international expat, I want to be able to travel back home and to visit my family and friends that are all over in other countries and still be able to take work with me. And that can only happen if I have an online business. So, one of the things that I decided very early on was that no matter what I end up doing, I want my business to be based online. That was also a reason why, for example, some other options that I had considered were discarded pretty early on, including For example, becoming a consultant within customer success, and not because, mind me, that can be also done online, but I think that there are some aspects of the job that require you to be present with the company. And so eventually it didn't work. But that was also, for example, a reason why I discarded that I just wanted to have a break from tech. And so there was no point of me continuing within that, right? Because that would have made me still be in the same rooms that I was before. But then back to my original point. So one thing was traveling and flexibility. And the second point was to be able to work from home. So from my home in Copenhagen. And this may sound weird for some of you, but the reason why I want to do this is my dog, Poppy, who is currently, if you're watching this in video format, peacefully sleeping behind me while I record this. And so the reason why I wanted to do this, I wanted to be able to be here for her, to walk her in the middle of the day and have myself that natural break, natural walk, and not leaving her alone all day or having to pay for a dog sitter to walk her outside. And that is because I wanted a dog to begin with. And so I wanted to be with the dog and care for the dog. So for me, it makes no sense to have a work that doesn't allow me to be that, to be there. And also it doesn't allow me to give her the best life. And, for some of you, like some of you may not have animals, and that's okay. But some of you might have kids, and I'm not putting the two on the same level, mind me. But you understand, right? You might want to be there for pickup to school for your kids, or you want to be able to take them to the doctor when it's needed and not having to kind of like scramble around and arrange with other people. You want to just simply be able to be with them, honestly. And even if you don't have kids and you don't have dogs or animals, you might still want to just live your life in a way that is not dictated by other people's rhythms, but your own. And that is very much part of the life aspect of this vision rather than business aspect of this vision. Like the business gets shaped out of the life vision that you set for yourself. So the questions that you should ask yourself to understand this, okay, what is my life vision and also limits, right? Is asking things like, what time do you want to wake up in the morning? How do you want your mornings to look like? How many hours do you actually want to work and can work, and being realistic, considering all your other life commitments? How much money do you need to earn? How much alone time do you need? How many people you want to interact with? Do you want to travel? Do you want to stay based at home? All of these questions about basically what your day to day looks like. And once you define that, then it becomes a little clearer on what the pattern is, where you thrive, and what are the things that instead maybe that are part of your life right now, maybe you're before changing to entrepreneurship, um, you want to eliminate, you want to change, right? So the other aspect is to look at things around you, because you don't build this business in isolation. You might already have a mortgage that needs to be paid every month, and it's not a mortgage, it's rent. I mean, either or. And you have maybe a partner or a husband or a wife. Again, maybe you have kids. So their life is going to be hugely impacted by the fact that you are having a business. And I am, by the way, going to do an episode specifically on this, on how having your own business affects relationship, because I think it's an important topic and not a lot of people are considering this when they start. But just think really clearly for yourself, how do you want those to be and how is that going to impact others in your sphere? And then look ahead of time, look at 5-10 years from now, and really try and picture for yourself, what is that kind of vision that I want for myself, and how do I make that happen? What are the elements in my business that are going to support that life vision that I have for myself? And really, really refrain from building something that looks good on paper or that everybody else tells you that's the right way to do a business. instead of looking at how your life looks like or how you want your life to look like. Because I know that in these days, there's also a lot of talk about, tech is the only way, and building a startup and something with AI is the only way to make money and to build your business. No, it's not. And you might have many different reasons on why you should do that, but also a lot on why you shouldn't. And you need to do what's right for you, but you need to be honest with yourself first. So, in order for you to do that, to help you to get a little bit more honest about what is that you need to build, is I'm going to share with you this exercise that it's called R.E.A.D.Y assessment. And it's an exercise that I do a lot with my clients. And I've also had workshops based on this. And that will help you assess several areas of your life right now, including, your energy, your resources, your aspiration, your level of commitment, and all of that. That will help you understand how ready you are to build a business, but also uncover those patterns that we talked about earlier that will make you understand what kind of business you should build to begin with and how would that fit with your life. So you can find that link in the show notes, and please do let me know how you get by with it. And I am really curious to see what comes up with it. So always feel free to send me your answers, and you can always reach out to me either on LinkedIn, also link in the show notes, or send me an email at hello@sparkcoachingwithval.com. And I love to hear your answers. So takeaway is, don't ask yourself, what business should I build? But ask yourself first, what life do I want to live? Because that is going to impact the way you build your business. And if you do this right from the beginning, you'll save yourself a lot of headache afterwards to try and fit a business in your life that doesn't work. But doing it the other way around. Another thing you can do is start to note down the things in your day-to-day that make you feel energized versus the ones that make you feel drained, and start to understand what comes up for you and how do you work best and what needs to happen in your business for you to really thrive. So you can start having those elements that you can move towards to rather than only knowing what you're moving away from. Okay, I hope this episode was helpful, and see you next time. Thank you for listening to Business Sparks with Val. I hope today's episode sparked something for you. You can find all my resources, book a free clarity call, or explore working together at sparkcoachingwithval.com. And if this episode was useful, leave a review or share it with someone who's building their own thing abroad. Until next time, your business is waiting. Go make it real.